One of my favorite things about the trail is that a lot of people hold each other to leave no trace policies, for the most part. I've seen a few people get called out on when they're not following it, which is kind of nice.
Most people don't even care. A lot of people who are hiking this trail don't maintain their own trail, and it's terrible.
It's kind of an everyday thing. I mean,
24/7 gig.
Pack out what you carry in, you know?
Don't be that guy. Pay attention to what you are bringing out for your trip. Plan ahead and prepare is one of the main principles of Leave No Trace. Put your pack on. If it's too heavy, the worst guy I've seen brought out a cast iron skillet.
When I was hiking on ridgelines especially, I try and stay on like the rocky, like the uppermost portion of the trail and not like dig my trekking poles into the edge and like cause trail erosion and stuff. I did come across some people like camped like right by a turn on the AT. Eventually that's going to be harmful if enough people do that at the same location.
And then just, I mean, almost every fire pit's got a little bit of trash in it, always. Which I guess people think fire pits are trash cans.
A lot of stuff in the fire pits.
Yeah, there's a lot of trash in the fire pits.
And just many fire pits filled with terrible amounts of cans and rat trash, basically.
Somebody else was like, dude, who put the beer bottle in the fire? Because that's not gonna burn up, and that's definitely not Leave No Trace. Which was a little awkward, but I also thought it was really cool because he pulled the guy who put it in there eventually pulled the beer bottle out and packed it out. So
the nice thing about the trail is there are privy systems at most places, so a lot of that is confined to the privy areas rather than people kind of forgetting to dig a cat hole and leaving something up on top of the earth.
Well, at one shelter, it was pouring out and someone stepped out and stepped in human feces and then walked around the shelter and tracked it everywhere.
there was a lot of poop just hanging out in the woods.
And then just the pure, enormous amounts of toilet paper in rocky sections.
When I was reading blogs before we started, I kept seeing things like, oh, you don't need a trowel, you could just like dig with a stick or anything. And I'm like thinking, after digging cat holes out here, there is no way that you're gonna dig a 6-inch hole with a stick or the heel of your boot or a tent stake or any of these other little suggestions, because I've had enough trouble doing it with a trowel.
Lately on the trail, we've noticed there's this guy, and he signs rocks and shelters and stumps and like carves into things with his name all the time.
And nobody thinks they're cool, to be honest. Everybody was saying, like, where is this idiot? We gotta find him.
I've heard that since then he's been contacted about it, and he's doing some trail maintenance to sort of
yeah, he got community
repent.
service, and I think he got fined too, and he's actually apologized. People have chased him and found him on the trail and called him out on it, and he's apologized, and he's going back and fixing it, so that's cool.
There was a kid my year who left his name every single place he could think to put it, a bridge, trees, and I mean, nobody liked him.
It's just kind of like you've got to leave what you find, you know, the way you found it, so that other people can enjoy it in the same way.
I think using existing fire pits, I mean, there are so many, again, there's so many great shelters on the AT, a lot of them do have existing fire pits. It's really tough to come up to a beautiful overlook and see charred remains at an overlook, or on a rock outcropping, or in the middle of nowhere that doesn't make any sense at all.
Relying on a fire every night as your fuel source is a huge impact that is unnecessary.
A lot of places fires aren't legal. All throughout Connecticut, can't have a fire. Anywhere near tree line, can't have a fire. The wood doesn't grow fast enough to replace what people would use. So it has an impact on the ecology of the area.
not a lot of bear bagging going on.
And we're lucky to have the infrastructure that we have, but if we keep treating it this way, it's not gonna stay. And who's gonna wanna maintain that if we just keep trashing it and then bringing more bears in and making it unsafe? And
I've heard people say that they don't think bears will come to the area because there are so many people on the AT that they would be scared off by the presence of that many people, and it's not really worth it, the effort to go through hanging stuff.
We had one older lady who smoked a lot, and it was raining pretty bad, so instead of going outside the shelter, at least to the overhang, she decided just to smoke inside the shelter. And as best she tried to hide it, just went everywhere and annoyed everyone.
You know, people blogging in the shelters, and people have iPads at night, and people watching movies in their tents, and people texting and Instagramming and doing all those things all the time. Yeah. What was the glow like when you hiked last year?
It was pretty impressive.
Really?
There's, especially at the very beginning, when there are ways to do it safely and helpfully and respectfully. When you're in town and you're resupplying, you're checking weather for the week and you're writing it down. You're checking, you're checking in with people. You're not necessarily doing it in front of others, keeping them up at night with bright lights.
Definitely good things are happening with Leave No Trace. People are definitely picking up trash.
This guy, Sublime, he's trying to do this thing where you pick up at least one piece of trash that's not yours from every campsite.
Well, my friend carried out a like a golf cart for a golf bag that we found on the side of the mountain. I mean, it had to weigh 10-15 pounds. He carried it all the way out for about 7 miles.
Just don't be that guy that leaves things behind.
I mean, it's not that hard to pack out your trash.
You know, it's not that hard to follow the principles, really. And it doesn't take that much additional effort.
Not only is it good for the environment, especially in wilderness areas, it really allows other people to have that experience that's intended to feel like you're the only one that's been there, have the solitude.
Because there are 2,000 people out there trying to hike this trail, and if 2,000 people leave fire rings or 2,000 people don't bury their waste, it really adds up.
I remember it being super important to lead by example as a thru hiker because you're looked up to by a lot of groups who are not there for very long.
You know, it's group mentality, especially when you're at a shelter with 15 other people.
Even if every person drops one wrapper, it really does add up, and it adds up quick.
If you see people being lazy with their trash or stuff like that, then you're definitely more likely to do that yourself.
If you look up to the thru hikers and they're doing it perfectly, then you're going to get that solid experience.